Hello, my friends. Today, activity along the front line remains intense as Russian forces urgently try to capture as much territory as possible. Unfortunately, they are making some advances. Let's start with the Pokrovsk direction. Here, the Russians are preparing to storm Pokrovsk. Yesterday, there were reports of continuous shelling throughout the day, and by evening, the outskirts of the city were hit hard due to their proximity to Russian positions. This could indicate that they're already preparing for assaults and conducting artillery preparations. The situation continues to worsen, but we hope the Russians will get stuck on their flower beds with roses. Assaults are also ongoing in Peshane, Solone, um, Novovasilivka, Zelene, Lysivka, while fighting around Myrnograd also persists in the area of Promень, Myrolюбivka and Yelizavetivka. Attacks are underway, with Russian forces attempting to advance toward the highway from Vozdvizhenka. The situation here remains concerning as the Russians are gradually trying to push forward. However, no confirmed changes along the front line have been reported in the past 24 hours. The Russians have predictably intensified activity on the right flank of the Pokrovsk direction. For 6 consecutive days, Russian forces have been actively advancing toward the Pokrovsk-Konstantinivka highway. During this time, they managed to capture Vozdvizhenka, which had been held for months, and expanded their foothold. Currently, this foothold is at the regimental level, and with further expansion to brigade division size, they may reach and cut off the highway. In the Kurakhove direction, the Russians continue the assaults on Yasenove, Slovyanka, Petropavlivka, Dachne, and are breaking through from the village of Konstantinopolsky, attacking the village of Konstantinopol. Meanwhile, the armed forces of Ukraine report have a shelling of Andriivka, with attempts to breach its defenses expected soon to encircle Ukrainian troops. For now, there is no good news here. Foreign analysts report that Russian forces have allegedly taken control of Shevchenko village, which holds Ukraine's largest lithium deposit. The Russian Federation has occupied Shevchenko in the Donetsk region, home to Ukraine's largest lithium deposit. Bild analyst Yulian Ryobke reported. Currently, this information hasn't been officially confirmed by Ukraine's general staff. According to deep state maps, Russian forces control most of the village. However, it's unlikely that the Russians will stop there. It's clear they'll continue advancing as long as possible to capture more territory. In the Velika Novosilka direction, the Russians continue their attempts to break through to Novy Komar to encircle Velika Novosilka. They also shelling the city in preparation for further assaults. Additionally, fighting is reported near Novodaryevka, but there are no confirmed changes along the front line at this time. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, Russian forces have temporarily reduced their activity, with only shelling reported over the past 24 hours. No changes have been recorded for now. We are waiting to see if a major Russian offensive will unfold in this area. In the Kherson direction, Russian forces are continuing their attempts to capture the last island on the way to the village of Kizomys on the right bank of the Dnipro. This has led to a worsening situation with the threat of a breakthrough to the right bank. However, over the past 24 hours, there have been no confirmed changes as Ukrainian forces are actively countering Russian advances. Now moving to the Toretsk direction, where Russian forces have achieved some new gains. They managed to push towards Shcherbinivka along the railway, and fighting is ongoing on the outskirts. The Russians are also advancing further into Toretsk and have drawn closer to Krimsk, where assaults on the settlement are now underway. So the situation here is also deteriorating. uh, Ukrainian forces shared a video showing the current state of Toretsk, which appears extensively destroyed, a typical result of prolonged battles over the city. In the Chasiv Yar direction, Russian forces continue the active offensives with fighting ongoing in the city. Recently, they achieved further gains, advancing in the northern part. Currently, battles are concentrated more in the southern areas of the city, though there have been no new advancements in the past 24 hours. At the same time, they continue to assault Stupochki and Protechne, but the situation remains unchanged there as well. In the Siversk direction, the Russians are currently conducting artillery strikes, but no new offensive actions have been reported, and the situation remains stable. In the Liman direction, Russian forces are assaulting Zarichne and shelling the area to weaken Ukrainian positions in the settlement. However, no new offensive actions have been observed near Ivanivka, and the front line remains unchanged over the past day. In the Borova direction, the Russians are attacking Boguslavka and Pershetrovneve, attempting to break through to Novosergeyevka, with fighting ongoing near Novoyegorivka. Shelling continues, but no significant changes have been recorded in this area. Further south, activity has significantly decreased after Ukrainian forces pushed Russian troops back closer to the village of Makiyevka. In the Kupiansk direction, the number of shelling has increased, although no new Russian assaults have been launched so far. These could indicate artillery preparation for a new wave of attacks. In the Kharkiv direction, a relative calm is observed with no significant activity and all assaults temporarily halted. However, fighting continues in Vovchansk, where the Russians conduct several assaults daily, all of which have been unsuccessful. For now, the front line remains unchanged. In the Kursk direction, the situation is quite dynamic. Both Russian and Korean forces are conducting their counteroffensive, while the Ukrainian forces push forward with their own. On the first day, the Ukrainian forces managed to advance in three different locations, though no new progress has been reported on the second day. Currently, fighting is ongoing near the village of Большое Солдатское. However, it seems the Ukrainian forces haven't yet been able to establish a firm hold. We'll have to wait and see how the situation unfolds. Meanwhile, videos are surfacing online showing a striker armored vehicle which ran out of ammunition, resorting to running over Russian infantry in the fields of the Kursk region. Honestly, it's hard to find words to comment on these, friends. Feel free to share your thoughts under the video. Meanwhile, Zelensky stated in an interview that despite various accusations, no one controls him and he makes decisions independently.
Sometimes people say that someone controls you. For example, oligarchs, American politicians, or Yermak. That's why I say that. I've been here twice since the invasion in 2022, and I've realized that, indeed, no one controls you.
Others in the hierarchy carry out their tasks as managers. Like Andriy, whom you mentioned, is one of such managers, and I'm pleased to have people like him. There's really nothing more to add here.
Zelensky also mentioned that after Russian troops invaded Ukraine through Belarusian territory, Lukashenko allegedly called him to apologize. In the early days of the war, Lukashenko asked for forgiveness and insisted that he wasn't responsible for missiles being launched from his country's territory, Zelensky. However, Lukashenko's press secretary denied that any apology was made. The press secretary of Lukashenko denies that he apologized to Zelensky in the early days of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. First of all, the conversation between the presidents of Belarus and Ukraine in the early days of the conflict happened solely due to the emotional reaction of the Belarusian president's youngest son, Nikolai, who had Zelensky's personal contact saved on his phone. What was the essence of that conversation? Our president primarily emphasized that the conflict unfolded on Ukrainian territory under Zelensky jurisdiction and that he would ultimately bear more responsibility than anyone else for the death of people. That's why our president called for negotiations, which did take place 3 rounds in Belarus, followed by Istanbul. No apologies were made by the president of Belarus to Zelensky simply because there is nothing to apologize for, said Lukashenko's spokesperson Natalia Eismont in a comment to RBC. The circus continues, and it seems Lukashenko is trying to wash his hands clean of the matter. Share your thoughts on this in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.